Welcome, sir.
Yes, madam.
Welcome, sir.
Madam, I am audible there. Am I audible there? Dr. Ushma, madam?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yes,
Good
Siva.
afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. Madam, good afternoon, madam.
So, good afternoon, Manoj, sir.
Hello, Dr. Usha, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Now you are audible, sir.
Yeah, sorry. It looks like suddenly it
You
went
were
on
in
mute.
mute. Actually, I was trying a number, sir.
Yeah, not a problem. I just noticed that. No, because I am
We'll
in
start
I'm
in
a
a
different
couple of
place.
minutes.
I'm not in Bangalore, so I was a little worried about the internet, but seems to be working fine.
Okay, sir. We'll start in a couple of minutes, sir.
No problem. Shankar, I can see you. You are on mute though.
Okay.
So just I have a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes,
So
sir.
after some time, you have to give me access so that I can share my screen.
Okay, sir. Welcome, Shankar, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, ma'am. Yeah. Hi, Prem. I think
Good afternoon, all of you. Good afternoon,
Good
Mr.
afternoon. Good
Manoj,
afternoon.
Thank
Dr.
you. Good afternoon.
Shah. Good afternoon, Dr. Satyanarayana, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Am I audible there?
Yeah, very much, sir. Yes.
Shankar, sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon to everyone.
Yesterday I spoke to you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Good afternoon. The name shows something else. That's why I got it out.
Swami Satyanarayan, sir.
Oh, okay.
You know, I used to have a friend in Delhi when I was studying there. He was from Andhra. So he was some VVVVSV, something like that. So we used to call him Z Subbarao.
Okay.
Imagine for us Indians, it's like that. How about the others? So, Dr. Satyanarayan, I can keep
Yes, sir, shall we?
I can keep my microphone on now. Or should I?
Yes, sir. You are very much audible, sir. Am I audible there?
Yes, you are. No, should I
Yeah.
keep it on or after I
You
introduce?
you can see. Actually, you can be leaving me. Others can mute themselves, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Certainly better actually.
So whenever I have to speak, when I'm called to speak,
Yeah, that will be better. In case of that, you can unmute yourself.
வந்து பிரச்சனை பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கு.
yeah, right, got it.
Yes, sir. So we have a full strength. Up to 93 participants are there.
We'll start now. We'll start now.
We'll start now. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon to all. I welcome you formally to the MBA full-time batch of 1983-85 Silver Jubilee Ramachandran Memorial Endowment Lecture. Distinguished speaker of the day, Thiru Manoj Tedapalli, CEO and Director, Rainman Consulting. Distinguished Head of the Department, Professor Khaja Sharif sir. My dear colleague, Endowment Lecture Coordinator, Dr. Usha. My dear faculty colleagues, Dr. Manjula, Dr. Vanita Agarwal, Dr. Kanagalakshmi, Dr. Shivakumar, Dr. Joseph, members of 1983-85 batch, Shankaran Selvarajan sir, and others, distinguished participants, my dear student friends. I am deeply honored in welcoming you all to this great endowment lecture, which is conducted by Department of Management Studies in the memorial name of Sri Ramachandran. To understand about the endowment lecture, it is not a regular lecture that what we used to have at the end of the weekend. It is something unique. You can find out the definition of an endowment lecture means you can find out that basically it speaks about some unique topics or the issues which are more argued in the national and international perspective. Sometimes it can be on the basis of international relations, or sometimes it can be on the basis of a subject specific, that what our Manoj sir is going to speak on it. This endowment lecture was created in the name of their friend, Mr. Ramachandran. And I think that this is the fourth series of 1983-85 batch endowment lecture. To give a brief introduction about our speaker of the day, Manoj Tedapalli sir. His biodata is very long, but still I will try to figure out in a more of a briefer way by highlighting important information. Sir was leading provider in. Am I audible there? Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Introduction will be given by Mr. Shankar, sir.
It is okay, sir. It is okay, madam. I started.
Okay, sir.
So to say about Mr. Manoj Tedapalli. So sir is a leading provider of marketing analytics in Asia and have worked in who to whom of industry, MNCs and local leaders. So for this particular consulting company formed in the year 2009 and has worked with the major international companies such as Unilever, ITC, Wipro, Kellogg's, etc. Rainman Consulting also offers the training services to corporate setting up of and upskilling their people in the area of marketing and analytics. To say more about Mr. Manoj, he is considered to be one of the leading in the marketing area, including the advertising, media, and research, and play creating in the main in the areas of delivery value to brands. And he has worked as a former business head in the international at Titan, where he was instrumental in launching the brands in Southeast Asia and United States. Before this, he has headed in the marketing in India for Titan watch brand, and he has created the turning around of a Titan brand and relaunching the Fast Track brand. So today, Sir is going to speak on how analytics is changing marketing. Now, in the case of this particular topic is very unique and also very dominating, as we are moving to the big data as well as other important, what I can say that areas relating to analytics. The marketing is a one important, beautiful subject which always reads the consumer mind, but in a very artistic way. I can quote a couple of examples. When Volkswagen in Germany want to launch their mid-size car, many of the Germans, or even in the case of the European people, they were not interested in buying the car for the simple reason they thought that Volkswagen means Beetle and Beetle means Volkswagen. That means they thought very strongly that Volkswagen are the manufacturers of the small car. If you try to take the case study of the Kellogg's, you can find out that when the Kellogg's came to India, for the first 1 year, they did not pick up in the market. For the simple reason, it is that the Kellogg's was delivering the advertisement in such a way that Kellogg's can be added along with the milk. But the Indian people, they were very confused to find out that whether it is a hot milk or a cold milk. And finally, Kellogg said that the Kellogg can be added along with the hot milk. So the consumer, that what is the same saying that marketing is such an artistic subject where you will understand about the various dimensions of the consumer in a very beautiful way, provided if you really know how to read the consumers. On the other aspect, we can say that Sir today is going to speak about marketing analytics. Now, when you're talking about marketing analytics, we can find out there are two important waves in the analytics. One is the analytics 1.0 and other is the analytics 2.0. In the analytics 1.0, it is all about the company can understand the data, they can keep up the data where it will be used for the future purchase process of the consumer. So according to that, all the important products arrangement will be made through the analytics. On the other side, the analytics 2.0 is so powerful that it will read the future predictions of the consumers, where it will understand that how the consumer is going to make up the purchase, in what direction he is going to make up the purchase, and above all, how he is going to behave for a certain important products, and how we can also understand about the competitors. I am really glad that Sir has taken up such an excellent topic, that is how analytics is changing marketing, which is a need of the hour. So throughout the world, you can find out that many of the companies, including the Google, then in the case of Amazon, eBay, Microsoft, and other important leading companies, are investing such a great money for the simple reason is that to find out how far the consumers can be understood and how best it can be taken up. Now I leave the floor to Manoj sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this chance of presenting. It's always a pleasure to present to young managers of the future. As you saw in the latest India versus Australia cricket series, it is the youngsters who make the big difference, while they require some amount, because that's where the passion comes from. And I'd like to thank Mr. Satyanarayan, Dr. Usha, and Dr. Sharif, and my friend Shankar for inviting me to give this talk. And when he asked me to speak, I said that from my experience of having spoken to so many clients and also having looked at so many people in marketing departments across companies, both in India and abroad, I thought this is a topic that, and I just want to very briefly touch upon how analytics is changing the marketing as we know it. So I hope you are able to get some takeaways from this session. I'd like to share my screen now. Let me know when you are seeing my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, the presentation is visible.
Yeah, great. So I'm going to go through this slowly so that you get an idea of where we are coming from and where marketing analytics is today, without going into too many details and granularity. So hopefully this will give you a broad understanding of how things are changing in the marketing world and how young managers like you and what kind of skill sets you need to grow to succeed in the future. Okay, so let me just start by taking you through a journey. Me and Shankar, for example, we started our job on the first job on the same day. So we have been like more than 30 years. So you can imagine that we are fairly ancient now. So in a sense, we have lived through a journey. Okay, so where marketing was something and marketing is becoming something else now. Like Mr. Satyanarayan said, marketing is a creative business, especially so in the past and even now. So it is all about, what is marketing all about? It's all about imagination, looking at trends and having an intuition, and a certain amount of craftsmanship where you know that if I make this kind of intervention, this is what is likely to happen to my sales and so on. Okay, so this is what the scenario was when we first entered marketing in the 80s, mid 80s or thereabouts. And branding and how to brand and maintain brands was the key focus. And getting and keeping your customers was the focus. So customer loyalty, how to build customer loyalty, how to emotionally connect with them. These were the kinds of things that were current. So therefore, many people started their advertising careers in advertising, like myself, and then and Shankar for that matter. And then so we had a certain way of looking at brands. There was a certain amount of science, but I would say that in terms of what was available to us on the numbers side, was data available to us to figure out what exactly is happening because of what we were doing? The data was limited because for many years, even the media options were very limited. I remember the times when Doordarshan used to be the only TV channel. Then in the 90s, we got all the satellite channels, and now it is, you cannot count the number of channels that you can kind of log into with OTT and internet and all of that. So in the marketing in the past, you were kind of looking at an emotional connect, you are looking at customer insight. And this customer insight used to come from either qualitative research that you must have studied in your class, where you would talk to a small number of people in depth to find out what they are wanting to do, or a quantitative study where you did a larger scale survey, maybe go to 500 people or 1,000 people, which was a key source of insight at that time. And this was being done by the best marketers at that time. But around the change of the century, when we started entering this present century that we are in, marketing is still a creative business. But now, because of the different things like computerization, the ability to pick up granular data, and the explosion of media, marketing is creative, but it can no longer be informed by just the gut or the experience of a person, because it is too big a task now unless you are able to look at data in a fairly granular way. And then you have to take the data, massage it, understand what it means, and then predict what could possibly happen. Okay, so the changes happened essentially because of computerization, the internet, collection of granular data. So when you see all these IT companies, why are they collecting all the data that they are collecting? Okay, so it is not as if the problems was the collection of data happened because people saw some value in it in terms of how it kind of made their jobs more efficient. But over time, people realized that looking at the past alone and then using their intuition is not good enough. So you needed to have predictive models and other types of things. So you went through stages of, first you started by visualizing better. Then statistics was always been used. It's not as if statistics happened when computerization happened. It's just that it was applied to the area of marketing by pioneers in this area. And then it naturally went on to machine learning, where instead of a statistician figuring out what is the impact of different factors, a machine would use different methodology to find out. So therefore, what has happened now is that while imagination is still a necessary condition, it is no longer sufficient. You could have been a good artist, you could have been someone who really understood consumers well, and you could have succeeded in the past. But now, if you don't have the ability to look at data, you are going to be half a marketer. In fact, because most of the marketers who are heading marketing companies in India today are of our generation. Okay, they are in their 50s. I can see that many of them are very uncomfortable with this, and so very shortly, I think in another decade or so, such marketers will be called dinosaurs. So the importance of this, and this importance of analytics is not only in marketing, it's going to be across everything in life. Okay, so let me just take you through how it used to be. And this is a very old chestnut that we have, where a merchant called John Wanamaker said, half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half. Okay, so clearly, I mean, even when I was head of marketing in Titan, and this was in early 2000, I was head of marketing from 2002 to 2006. I used to see a lot of data, and I used to do a lot of advertising. I spent a lot of money across TV and various other channels. But each of it, the media agency will come and present plans to you independently for outdoor, independently for promotions, independently for TV. And while I could say that my growth, there's been some kind of a lift or not in my sales, I would not be able to pinpoint, okay, what exactly worked for me and what did not. So in fact, every time I grew, my boss used to say, never give me the credit for the growth. He would always say, oh, it's probably because the season is great. Okay, so maybe without the advertising also the sales would have been. So essentially what you're saying is that what cannot be measured, in a sense, cannot be improved to the extent it can be improved. So therefore, what has happened is because of this granularity of data and people working on it, now I can actually not only find out which part of my advertising is getting wasted, maybe one part of promotion is not working at all. Maybe press is not only working half as well as TV is working. We are now drilling all the way down into creative campaign level. Okay, so I know that a car company has spent money on 4 different campaigns, and I can actually tell you that look, some have been more efficient than others, right? Where deployment was 22% in one case, and it only delivered 18% in terms of sales contribution. How did I arrive at the sales contribution? Hello, yeah.
So actually, the PPT is not presented right now, sir.
It's not presented, is it?
So it was for beginning and then it got stopped.
Can you see it now? 1 second.
Yes, sir. Just a minute.
Can you see it now?
Yes, sir. It's currently visible.
You can see it, right?
Yes,
No,
sir.
it's coming. Yes, yes.
I don't know how it went off.
Because we are so engrossed in a talk, we forget about the PPT.
So see, what I'm showing you in this PPT is this particular slide is that what the blue line is telling you is deployment. What percentage of my budget was spent on a particular campaign? And the red line is showing you how much it actually delivered to me in terms of sales. Now I have presented this very simple chart, but it is, if you see, you are looking at drilling it down, how did I know? How do I know this has happened? When so many things are all happening together and this has happened over a 3-year period. So that is what advanced analytics can do for you. So what I was trying to say is, not only can I say which part of your advertising is wasted, I can also tell you which campaign is wasted. I can also tell you which promotion is working and all of that. So I'm going to tell you in a little more detail about that. But before that, I will also take you through a historical development of what happened here. Okay. Well, even before that, I think what I'd like to tell you is that this is a integration of skills that you are seeing now.
Sir, again the PPT is gone, sir.
Are you able to see my screen, I hope?
No, sir, it's again gone.
Oh, why? I don't know what's the issue there. Let me know when you see it. It is telling me that I am sharing the screen with you.
It's not presenting. It's still there.
So maybe I'll share the screen, sir. I have the PPT.
You have the PPT?
And now it's coming. Now it's coming.
Yes, now it's visible, sir.
I don't know why it is going off after some time.
Yeah, true.
Now can you see it?
Yeah, now it's coming.
Strange. Anyway, I have on a new laptop. Maybe it's a little funny. Okay, so just to give you the component parts of what is required today is that it is not possible to just be a statistician or just be a marketing or salesperson or just somebody who knows IT. It is a thing of bringing all of those skill sets together. So this integration is another big thing. So therefore, bringing in teams together to deliver this kind of insight, which actually I'll demonstrate to you, delivers huge amount of upside to the companies, but it is not very, very few people who have all of this together. So therefore, it is incumbent on the managers to start creating team effort. So while data is the oil, there is no doubt about the fact that now getting data from wherever you're getting it from hundreds of sources now, including things like IoT and so many other sources of data. That is the oil. But unless you have an engine, okay, which will use that oil to run your company and go at the pace that you want to go, it is not going to be helpful. So how do we build this engine? How do we use this data? That's really the questions that we have. So there are many different types of marketing analytics that you see today. So essentially you can be dealing only with the internet or social media. You can be looking at how I attribute and what are the interdependencies between different media. But there is one that I want to take you through given the paucity of time, and that is the mother of all marketing analytics. It is called marketing mix modeling. Okay, the one I have circled. What this one does is it actually brings together all components of marketing together, all the 4 P's or 5 P's that you have, and then it will tell you if I were to change certain things in this particular mix, what would happen. Okay.
So,
Are you able to see?
share the presentation with Rama, sir.
Yeah. Why don't you run it?
Yes, sir. Ilamurgu.
I'll tell you when to change the slide. Then.
Yes, sir. Just.
Hello. Yeah, you can go down. Can you put it on full screen? Yeah, just go down to the next slide. Yeah, we were on this slide, which is what I was telling you about market mix modeling, right? So marketing mix modeling in a sense is the mother of most of marketing thing, because you are looking at all the different elements that make up marketing, whether it is pricing, distribution, promotion, whatever it could be, right? So I'm going to be talking to you about that. Go on to the next slide. This is just to tell you the kind of clients that we work for. And you can see that analytics is used by all types of companies, whether they're FMCG companies, motor car companies, they're even used by cricket teams today to kind of inform their decisions. You can move to the next slide. So you're talking about both digital, non-digital, and all of that, right? Now, coming to how does this whole process work and what are the different inputs that you see coming in and what is the ingredients that go, I'm just telling you that the first part of the analytics is the ability to bring all the data together in a single repository. See, there is, for example, when I'm working with a brand in Unilever, they could give me something like up to 20 different sources of data, which include research, it could sales of different type, whether it is primary sales, secondary sales, or retail sales. Then they will tell me how much money they have spent behind which media. So, and what are the research results from different types of, research that is happening. So all of that data is given to us, okay? And we kind of look at bringing the data in at the most granular. Okay, if it is available at a weekly level or a monthly level, we kind of put it in a repository. So that is the first part, which is the data integration part. Then if the data is no good in terms of quality, so somebody has to go through the whole thing, maybe through an algorithm, okay, and find out whether the quality of the data is good, too much missing data, all of that we need to do at second stage. Now comes where many people are doing, which is you are able to deliver standardized reports, sales versus how much money I spent in TV, for example, is a two-dimensional standard report that I would produce. So all of this is automated now. I can actually configure 100 reports. I used to, when I was in marketing, I used to get it in, like I used to get a 30-page report, which will enable me to find out how my brands and sub-brands are doing. Instead now, I can have a dashboard which enables me to not only look at it at all India or state level, but drill it down to the level of a store, okay, using a dashboard, and look at how one store is doing versus the other in a particular sub-brand, let's say Raga or Fast Track or whatever be that particular brand. So there are a set of standardized reports that we always see, because unless you understand the market, you can't really do analytics on it. Because like I said, it is not simply statistics. It's a lot of domain expertise that you need to bring in. So that's when we go into beyond reporting into what we are calling analytics. Analytics, when I say here, it is advanced analytics, where we use advanced or regression techniques, basic to most advanced. There are some 10 or 15, or we use machine learning. The idea there is to understand the impact of different things, which is what I will explain to you when I look at a case for market mix modeling. And once this algorithm is built and I know what is the impact of each one of these parameters, we then give them a scenario board. So this scenario board is a predictor. If I were to change my inputs, how would it change my sales? How would it change my mind measures like top of mind or consideration or any of the other issues? So I can have any of that on my left-hand side, but what I'm trying to figure out here is what is the impact of the different types of, whether it's pricing or advertising or promotion, how is it impacting my sale? Obviously, there are issues because each of them are not running independently, but they are all running together. Okay, that's when you use methodologies like regression, right? You can move to the next slide. Okay, let me give you some examples of what would be basic analytics, what I think Mr. Satyanarayana called analytics 1.0. Okay, what is this? This is basically you have the ability to go as granular as you want. Like I said, I can go down to the level of a store, or I can go down to the level of a depot, and I slice and dice data based on whether it is a premium product or it's I want to see how my low-end products are doing. So I slice, dice the data in whichever way. I can look at hundreds of reports. And I, as a marketer, I have a certain observations that I make from this. And based on those observations, and this is at a one-on-one, at most 3-dimensional reports that one is able to look at. because you can't look at multi-dimensional reports, because that wouldn't make any sense for the human mind to understand. And then based on that, I have insight generation. So this is where a lot of people are in when you're talking about analytics. A lot of Indian companies, when they are doing analytics, they are doing this kind of analytics, which they then send reports to their clients abroad, and then they have a discussion on it and say that, okay, these are what I am seeing. This is what is happening to my market share. This is what is happening. Go to the next slide. So just to give you an idea of, I could be looking at market share of a particular company, okay, and then I see that, okay, this is how things are moving over time, okay. So this is my sales on the left-hand side and the competition on the right-hand side. So I would just look at it. I would look at what kind of growth is happening and what is the expected CAGR. I could do some averages and so on. Okay, move to the next slide. Or for example, I could also do correlation between two lines. Is there some kind of dependency? I mean, just because there is correlation doesn't mean that there is causation. But domain expertise tells me that when I do more TV, is it selling more sales volume? Okay. So I can see that there is a correlation of 53% here between these two lines. One is an input in terms of TV GRPs, the other is sale. So I kind of store this away and say, yeah, and if I didn't have advanced analytics, this is where I would have to stop. I would have to say, yeah, there is a correlation. So therefore, if I do more TV, I would. But it is not telling me exactly how much TV is contributing to my sales, right? It doesn't tell me that. Okay, it only tells me that, yes, there is a high correlation with TV, and then I would independently look at correlation with promotion and press. I look at various other pricing. When I increased price, what happened? Was there a downward shift? Now, I can look at all of these independently, but it really doesn't give me an overall understanding. Move to the next slide. Or I can go even more complex in terms of basic visualization, where I would actually try to cluster markets together based on their relative market share and based on their growth, and say that the ones on the right-hand side quadrant are the ones which I should look at, or take the ones which are on the right-hand side bottom up, or on the left-hand side towards this. So these are again basic reports and visualization, all of which is available. I can also increase the size of the bubbles in such a way that they represent the size of the market. I haven't done this here, but again, visualization. Move to the next one. Here is another example of what you can do when you have the ability to access data at a very granular level. This is, there is a longitude, latitude data for household sales made by Hindustan Lever in the city of Bombay. Okay, so these salesmen go and they bill on their handheld device. So based on that, I can actually figure out which are the high potential areas by linking it with the census data that I have available from the government of India. So if I find that my sales are lower than the potential in a particular grid, then I can actually increase. So this is not something that I am predicting. This is merely something that I am having the ability to do geo mapping and figuring out how to put a certain potential for a particular grid and see whether I am hitting that potential or not. If I am not, then I'll say that, okay, this is where Hindustan Lever needs to increase its distribution because it's not really doing it, or they can actually do house to house sale. Okay. So till now, what are we dealing with? We are dealing with as much data as comes in. We are trying to see whatever be the level of data, however big the data may be. Okay. We have the ability to kind of crunch that data, and I ask for a report, my team is able to give me that report and automate it over time if I were to so want it. Okay, so that is where is the ability, and this is basic analytics as we call analytics 1.0. Move to the next one. Now, advanced analytics is where we come to answer the question that that guy said half the budget is wasted. Okay, so advanced analytics, or they call it colloquially as modeling. Okay, modeling is all about using past data because there is nothing you can't project knowing what is the past. So using past data at a certain granularity, what we do is we estimate what is the impact of different factors, which is there in a particular equation. So if any of you know an equation, any regression equation will be y is a function of alpha, which is a base, plus beta 1 x1, which is nothing but each of the inputs that you have given, each one of them have a coefficient or a beta. Okay, so using this equation, we are able to actually do regressions of different types. Different types of problems require different types of regression. But essentially, what does advanced analytics do? It estimates the impact of different factors, and using that impact factor, it actually projects what my sale is going to be in the future. Once I know what is the impact of each factor, I'm also able to use the same budget, but use it for to put more money into higher ROI channels and delete money from lower ROI channels, giving you increased sale for the same budget. So that is money for math, as I call it. Okay, so that is important. So let us see what it requires. Like I showed you that you have to start from the most granular data that is available to you and go. Let us see what we are looking at doing here. Go to the next slide. Okay, so the questions that this is able to answer, for example, is how much of my sales is attributed to marketing inputs? Like my boss used to tell me that, look, boss, you are doing all this marketing, but actually the market was very good for Diwali, so I did. The reason why I was not able to answer the question was because at that time I was not able to do this job of actually quantifying what is the impact of marketing inputs, which is an estimate, but it's an estimate with a high level of probability or significance. Okay, like for example, same question: can we separate the impact of season from my sale? Can I use the last 3 years of data? Okay, and can I use it to separate the sales? The third question: if I increase the number of stores that I sell through, how much impact will it have? It is not going to. Supposing I was selling through 50 stores, and I go to the next 50 stores, which is obviously not as good as the first 50 stores. How much of an increase will I get in those next 50 stores? These are all some things that, unless I understand the impact of each store and how each store and how much it is contributing, I will not be able to tell you when I double my distribution what is going to happen to my sale, because it's not a linear line. Similarly, is someone saying something? No? Okay. So similarly, one of the big areas is, as you know, brands are selling, brands are using hundreds of crores for their marketing. Now the thing is, do they understand what exactly is happening with their media mix? I go to a media agency, they will tell you basically what? They will tell you that, look, if I spend 50 crores on this, you will get, so many people will get to see your advertising so many times. That's essentially what they are telling you. But they are not telling you, and then they also tell you they put so much money in outdoor, so many people will go past that hoarding. But they are not telling you necessarily how much sale is coming from here. Okay, and that is not possible without modeling, without bringing all this data together. And not only are we able to tell how much is TV delivering to you, we are saying, does sports work better than news? Does it work? Which channel, Star TV or Zee TV, which one is working better for you? So we can actually do the drill down. So we are actually quantifying this whole decision-making process. So we are able to measure how these things are working for you. And once we are able to measure that, we can easily optimize, right? That's actually a very small part of the problem. It's just an optimization problem after that. So similarly, if I do sub-brand advertising, will that help my mother brand? All kinds of questions you can ask. Okay, but without modeling, you can never put a number on these things. You can only say that, as from my experience, I can tell you that it worked in so-and-so case, and it's totally anecdotal. So therefore, the need to bring solid and hardcore numbers to this entire exercise. Okay, move to the next slide. Okay, so this is what a typical problem would look like. Okay, so what am I saying here? I have got sales on the left-hand side. Market 1, market 2, market 3, market 4. Could be big markets, could be, they have divided anyway, 4 zones, 4 cities, whichever way they want. And they know that as marketers, we are in control of many things. My media, TV, print, radio, nowadays mobile. There is a lot of digital media which is happening, email campaigns. Somebody is doing conferences, somebody is doing local activation at a local level. Then I am giving money to the trade in different ways. Then I am giving price discounts at the same time. So I can tell you that as any marketing head will tell you, that 20 things are happening at the same time. When 20 things are happening at the same time, one-on-one correlation simply does not work. You need require something which is much bigger than that. So for example, for this kind of a problem, which is what I'm calling the market mix problem. So if you see, most of the variables which go into a typical market are there. How many distribution points do you have? Okay, how many? What is your price, and what is the kind of price discounts that you give? How much is your competition spending? What are the consumer schemes that you have run in the past? So all of these things are some things that are live in any marketing case. The question is, can we derive using data an estimate of the impact of each one of them, and how good are these estimates? That's really the question, right? So I'll go on to the next slide, please. So the data requirement for this kind of a thing, for example, is time series data for at least 36 points. That's very minimal. I mean, we are data poor in Asia, so we are working with 36. But a typical guy in the US, if he is working, I work for the US market also. There I get weekly data, which means that for a 3-year data is worth 156 points to me. As you know from your base classes in statistics, that more the data, more the insight, correct? And more robust the insight. So, but however, we are able to work with 36 because at the end of the day, analytics is not about perfection. It's about whether you can give insights given what you have. Okay. Somebody told me that what's the point of doing it, when I don't have 156 points. So my answer to that is very simple. You have a dim light in a room is better than having no light at all. Okay. So I need to actually work with what data that I have. In this case, I have 36 months of data, let's say, month on month. What is the sales in that particular month of different types? What is the promotional spend I had? What is TV spend that I have? I use all this data to actually arrive at estimates of their impact. Okay, move to the next slide. Okay, what is my objective here? I know that sales is impacted by media, it's impacted by price, distribution, digital, competition negatively, because something that competition does will take away from me. Okay, and so on and so forth. So at one time, this was enough. Okay, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we were delivering and people were very happy when I told them that, look, 8% of your thing is coming from TV. But this is you are on a treadmill all the time. Now people want to understand, okay, how much did TV contribute out of that media, print? So I actually get down to that level. And then within TV, now we get down to genres, and all of that is possible, given the granularity of data and given that we are constantly innovating and figuring out ways of doing this using different types of statistics and optimization processes and so on. Okay, so we have to use these robust methodologies to break down the impact. Go to the next slide, please. Okay, what does it when I do this regression, when I have this time series model, what is it? One of the key outputs that you will see is what I call the contribution chart. This is contribution to the variation that I am seeing in sales over a, let's say, last 3 years. 36 months is 3 years, right? In that vintage, what were the factors which gave me a variation in my sales? Okay, I know that as a marketer, if I spend money below the line, or I spend money on TV, or I spend money on discounts, I'm going to get a positive impact of that, right? So one of the outputs of this is what it does is the regression will give a coefficient for each one of the variables that I have used in the model, which I also check for significance, which means that they should this estimate that I am drawing has to be right 90 times out of 100. So the significance of 0.1 is what I'm looking for here. Okay, so once I get that, then I know that this is it is not like tossing a coin. I mean, 50% chance is not what I'm talking about. So I'm very clear that TV is impacting my sale with a significance level of 0.07. So I'm quite sure that 93% of the time my estimate is correct. Okay, and that is much better than not knowing what your TV was doing, right? So that is the point. So once I have these contributions, then I know that these are positive contributions, and you can see that if I have competition, they will have negative contributions too. There will be negative contributions here, which is not shown in this slide, but there will be negative contributions, which I take into account. And then what does this contribution mean? It means that 14% of the sales can be attributed to below the line advertising. Okay. Then I know what my value sales was in this 3-year period. So I know for what is 14% of that. So therefore I know what is the amount of money that I got from this money that I spent on below the line. I already know how much I have spent on that money. I have spent on that below the line. So dividing the one by the other, it tells me that what is for every rupee that I spent, how much return on investment am I getting? So you can see on the chart on the right side, which says FMCG brand, total sales is from BTL is 96 crores, spends are 45 crores or so. So the ROI is for every rupee spent, they are getting 2.13. Similarly, you have 2.8 for TV, and you can see that it is 4 for in-shop spends, and for print, it is only 0.78. So even though I'm spending, let's say 100 crores, I'm only getting 78 crores in sales. So what I have now figured out here is that, wow, if I spend more money, I stop spending money. 58 lakhs I spent on print. What if I spend the same money in TV, which I spent only 40 lakhs? Let's say I take 40 lakhs from print and make the budget for TV 80 lakhs. What will happen to my sales? Sales will go up, right? But it is not a linear curve. Just because I'm spending more money on TV doesn't mean that it is linear. It will start diminishing after some point. So I also work out the diminishing returns and elasticity. And then I'm able to actually use those equations for my optimization. And I will tell you what is the best way of spending the same money that you spent here, but get more sales. Then you can also turn around and ask me, you got all these estimates, but how do you know that these estimates are correct? Right? That's a very fair question. Right, so at the bottom you can see that there is a chart which is showing a red line and a blue line. The red line is my actual sales, okay, which so happened in this period. I know what sales happened month on month. Using my coefficients, I multiply it with all the inputs that I used and reproduce my sales again, which I called a predicted sales. So what my model is predicting given the inputs is what is happening here. So therefore, when I draw these lines together, I can see that the mean absolute percentage error, or the difference between these two lines, whether it is positive difference or negative difference, is only 5.5%. Okay, that tells me that the coefficients of the model that I built are good enough. So I always look at MAPE, and if the MAPE is not good enough, we kind of move on and try to see what we are missing there, and then you come back to that. So therefore, what have we done here? We have figured out that it is possible to actually figure out the ROI from each one of my marketing spends. I can do this for promotion. I can do it for various other ways of using price elasticity and so on. Okay, go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is just an example of what we do when it comes to optimization. What I figured here is that there are some things like radio, out of home, and something else, okay, print, where the ROI is not high enough. So what I do is I use some constraints, say that I can delete all 100% of it, or the marketer may have a problem. No, you cannot cut my BTL to 0 because the market will scream or something. So I'll say, okay, can I cut it by 20%? So I take constraints into my model. I set up an objective function, which is nothing but maximize my sales given this budget, right? So what it is done is, when I see the result, what it is done is it's taken away money from radio, OOH, and print in certain extent, and redeployed it in digital, BTL, and TV, because they were high. And what it is telling you is that it is giving you for a 1 year period, there is a lift of 9% that can be projected by doing this change in the media mix. Okay, so you expand this to include markets, brands, that becomes the global optimization. So this is at a single market, single brand level, but conceptually you understand what advanced analytics is doing as opposed to what basic analytics was doing. Basic analytics was just showing you trends. Advanced analytics is telling you shift money from this to this and actually get 9% more. Okay, move to the next slide, please. Just to tell you that this is why is analytics become such a rage? Because here I'm giving you an example. I've just picked it out from one of my presentations, where the actual spend for a particular brand was 96 crores. Okay, so that's the actual spend, 96 crores. I'm keeping the optimized spends also at 96 crores. However, if you see, what happens is that I'm shifting the thing. There is something called temporary price reduction, which they were spending 33 crores on. I've increased it to 43 crores, and so on and so forth. So based on my optimization, I've changed these numbers. So the actual volume that they had achieved earlier was 650 crores. Okay, with the changed optimized volume is, the volume in kilotons was 650. It went up to 695, which in rupee terms went up from 869 crores to 930 crores. So just click the button once. Just click the button once, please. So you can see that, just next slide. So again, next slide. Yeah, you can see that I have got a I've got a 7% lift in my sales without any change in budgets. Okay, which converts to 61 crores. Even if you say that there are some errors which are built into this model, like I told you, it is not a 100% model, it's a 90% model. But you remove 10-20% from that 61. I might have charged them 30 lakhs to do this, but they would have looked at like 50 crore value. So that is the way value delivery is happening today. Okay, so these people is a live case. These people actually did a lot of the recommendations that they made to them, and they used to generally grow at 6%. And in the year that they made most of the changes, their growth rate is something like 14%. So when you take a 2,000 crore company and grow it by 14%, that's quite an upside, right? So that's the reason why, analytics and advanced analytics is really gaining the thing and getting people to use it. Move to the next slide, please. So there are also, like I said, deep dives. People are never satisfied when I tell them. So they want to understand every aspect of marketing. So go to the next slide. So some people might ask, okay, I do emotional advertising and I do functional advertising. Emotional advertising in the sense like Mera Bajaj kind of advertising. I don't know if you remember that, but anyway, some emotional thing which links you with a brand. Or it can be functional spends. I tell you how good my car is, versus how it will make you feel like a hero. This is the two differences. So I can actually figure out a response curve for each one of these to say that as I spend more and more money, how will my spontaneous recall change? Okay, as I spend more and more money. So those are deep dive curves that we are able to build. The other thing is, there is, when you drill down into media, it is you look at and say, should I do prime time or should I do non-prime time? Prime time is this when everybody watches and high TRPs you get. Okay, obviously prime time costs you 50 or 100% more, okay, than non-prime time. So media person when he does media planning is only telling you that X number of people are seeing it, but you never know at the end of the day. So what we do is we run this on sales, and we found that even though for this brand, prime time cost them something like 60% more as opposed to non-prime spots that they were running, it was almost twice as efficient. Okay, so they shifted money into that. So what I'm saying is it's not only at the level of what I should do on TV, but what type of genres, channels, creative, and so on that you ought to look at. How much should I spend on core brand? How much should I spend on variant? Because they are interacting with each other. So in this case, I'm not building a single brand model, but I'm building a multiple brand model. Instead of markets on the left-hand side, I might have Coke, Diet Coke, Zero Coke, all those things on the left-hand side, and the inputs of all these brands on the right-hand side, and see what their interaction effects are, and therefore how I should spend the overall budget in a particular country, for example. So those are the kinds of things that are possible now with advanced analytics. Move to the next slide, please. Okay, I just to tell you a case for how we use it for price elasticity. When I was in marketing, every once in a while, my boss would come and tell me, look, our costs have gone up. You need to take a 5% increase in watch prices. Okay, I have something like 1,500 SKUs running at any time, 1,500 watches which are out in the market of different varieties, steel, gold, this, that, and the other. Now, how do I take a call as to where to increase and where to not increase? One simple method is increase everything but 5%. But that is probably not the smartest thing to say. Okay, I'll come to that. I'll come to the spot question. Okay, so at that time we used to kind of look at different things, talk to dealers, and say which is a price-sensitive category, which is not. And we invariably used to come out with this thing probably that the higher price points are less price sensitive because people have more money to pay. So therefore, we used to take up typically a 10% increase for the higher end watches and a 2-3% increase for lower end watches, and we used to live with that, whatever came out of that. Okay, but if I had analysis like this, I could have done these lines for steel versus gold versus Raga versus edge watches, and I would have known exactly what is the elasticity, and I could have maximized my pricing. So what is this showing you? It is showing you that the SKU, which is the green SKU, is the one which has got the least elasticity, because I have change in price on one axis and I have change in sales on the other. Okay, and you can see that if I increase prices also, nothing much is happening to the sale. Whereas for the red one, it is the opposite. If I increase prices, my sales fall dramatically. So once I have this information, then it's a question of how I do this better. So I can take pricing and optimize pricing, and it will give me what is the best pricing to do, given that my objective is to get a 5% value addition as my boss wanted. Okay, go to the next slide, please. Then, of course, there are a lot of projects that we do where people are wanting to know which category is going to grow. For example, we did it for Diageo. Which is the brandy market going to grow? Is it going to be how fast will vodka grow? What is going to be the thing for whiskey? Which type of whiskey? So one thing is to use the past trends, which is called basically auto-regression. Use auto-regression, but we also bring in lifestyle. Because here, if you see, we have something like 20-30 years of data to predict what are going to be the trends going into the future. So we actually predict for each different type of liquor or different type of motor car, what is likely to be the trend based on what is happening in their lifestyles. Because what is happening to their lifestyles, what is happening to the different things that they are looking at, what's happening to competition. We bring all of these factors and we kind of predict what is happening. Okay, move to the next one, please. Then we can also predict, for example, just these are all examples I'm giving you of advanced analytics. I'm not going to go into the detail of these things. But supposing I have 1,000 stores, or this is a live case, Wipro consumer sells in AP through something like 1 lakh stores. Okay, they sell their soap, Santur soap, okay, through 1 lakh stores. But they also have other products. They have some hand and body lotion. Then they have Bolt, which is some kind of other. But they are not going to, if the salesman tries and goes and sells this to all 1 lakh, he's going to waste too much time. So they don't know. So we know that you apply the 80-20 rule, 80% of the sales of these things will come from very few stores. So they asked us to identify based on sales trends. It's not only the size of the sale of a particular store. It is the kind of audience which is living around and how they demonstrated what they're doing. So we are able to tell them that, look, I'll tell you out of, this is a model built for 8,000 stores. So I'll give you 1,000 stores out of this 8,000 where your sales guy should go, and he will get a much higher lift than going to everybody by far. Okay, so they will then make a policy only for these stores that we have identified and sell that particular SKU to them. So that's how you kind of start adding efficiencies to your sales force as well. Okay, move to the next slide, please. So I think I've taken up my time, 3:15, but I think I saw some few questions popping up, which I will first answer, and then we can go to any other questions that you may have. They said, what is SPONT? Okay, when I showed that emotional and functional ad, SPONT is nothing but spontaneous awareness. So there is a brand track that most brands are running, many big brands are running, where they first go and ask this question: what soap brands do you recall? So if they say, I recall Liril and I recall Santur and I recall Dove and so on, they recall, let's say 10. That is called spontaneous awareness. Okay, the next level that they want to know is they will show you a list of 50 brands and they'll tick all the ones where you already are aware of. So that is called aided awareness. Spontaneous is nothing but unaided awareness. So we don't just model sales. We also want to increase sometimes spontaneous awareness. So how are different media channels improving my spontaneous, which eventually will lead to sales, right? If I have spontaneous awareness, which means it's high up in my mind, It's probably part of my consideration set, and therefore I will go and convert. So that's what spontaneous means there. So I'm not sure if there were any other questions. Let me just check the. So if there are any questions, actually you can post it on the thing, or you can ask.
Good evening,
So I
sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
This is Dr. Manjula,
Yeah,
faculty from the DOMS.
Dr. Manju, tell me.
Interestingly, I actually teach the quantitative techniques paper. So I am
Okay.
really appreciative of the entire presentation that you did. You actually, handheld them and took them on an analytics journey.
Yeah.
I'm sure this will help them to understand and appreciate what they are learning in the class and its applicability in the industry.
Correct.
So
Correct. So
thank
it
you
is
very
a-
much for that.
It's a very fast-moving field, madam, and I feel that there is a lot of thing here, and it is some people are afraid of maths. In fact, I was afraid of maths when I went and did my masters. The reason why I didn't go into further economics is because I couldn't take the math anymore, because they don't speak in English; they only speak in mathematical equations, right? So, but doesn't mean that I cannot be part of an analytics company, because I don't do the analytics myself, because I'm not such a hardcore statistician. I know statistics, but I'm a marketer. I understand what the consumer wants. So like I go back to the first thing, when you are going to be a marketer or a manager of any type, you should have some ability to look at numbers, both at the basic level and also.
This is exactly the question I wanted to pose. Actually, I wanted you to throw some light and help the students to understand why it is important for each one of them, irrespective of their interest in analytics or not, whether they want to take that as a career option tomorrow or not, why it is important for each one of them to have at least a basic understanding of what all that you spoke. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can be more clear than saying that if they are not, if they are still in marketing in about 10 years' time, if you don't understand all these techniques, you cannot actually make it in marketing anymore. So it is a very simple thing, because this is going to be an experiment, not only marketing, madam. I mean, I think any kind of management, if you go into supply chain, similar techniques are going to be used to say, how can I reduce the time that Swiggy takes to reach a particular point. So almost anything, because this resource is now available for you to massage. And I can tell you that recently one of the head of one of these large companies said that the people who are able to understand numbers and are able to use it, they are going to grow multiple times faster than companies which are not going to be using it. I can give you some examples of companies there was a company called Capital One, okay, which actually started in the US in the early days of the analytics revolution. And they were a bank. They were doing the same things, giving loans, giving credit cards. But they had more analysts than they had tellers. And they are now one of the biggest banks in the United States. And they are the leaders. You take casinos in Las Vegas. The casinos which beat all the casinos with the bigger properties were the ones who did the analytics and chased the right people. So I don't think that you will ever come across a particular space in management, at least. Okay, if you are farming, even farming will require regression. One of the greatest things but almost any field will require, you may not do it, but you should have the understanding that this is possible to do. Okay, that is the important thing. You should understand that these methodologies are available to me. If I don't know that there is a thing called Ola, then I don't know how to call Ola, and it's not that I'm creating. I just have the knowledge that Ola is available. Ola will take me from point A to point B. Similarly, you should at least have, and first thing is that you should have the basic ability to work very well with things like Excel, advanced Excel even, because you should not be scared of the number. You should be able to look and analyze the numbers, which will give you a basic insight. It will not give you anything more than that. And then you should have enough knowledge to say that I can go to an expert and I can get him. When I'm a marketer, I don't need to be some creative person to run my advertising campaigns. But I know that such and such an advertising agency can do such and such a thing. So they need to be aware of this and have the ability whatever field they are. They can be hardcore statisticians, they can be project managers, or they can be marketing people, they can be sales people. All of them will be requiring to some level of quantitative ease. They need to make an effort, even if they are scared, and it is not exactly rocket science. I think people should just pay a little attention to the numbers and to some of these techniques that you are teaching in your college.
Absolutely, absolutely. Gone are the days when people used to think that the Harvard and MIT are on the opposite banks of the river. In fact, if you do not have a flair for number crunching, at least, as you said, if you are not able to draw insights from what is presented to you, you will end up projecting yourself as a dumb guy. So at least you should know what is being discussed across the table with whatever is being presented in terms of the numbers. Thank you, sir. Another question that I was thinking is, so today when we are talking about this data modeling, there is the training of the data, which is important. So how much efficient is this training of the data?
See, when you are talking training of data, you are talking about artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence, AI.
See, the thing is, artificial intelligence depends on training, like you correctly said. I have to keep feeding it data. Okay, I have to keep feeding it so that it kind of constantly corrects itself. So when I feed it an X amount of data, then maybe it will get the answer wrong. Then I bring an expert and ask him to give some weights or factors into this. Then it will use those weights and factors. But you keep feeding it data or training the data, as you say, till it is able to work. So, for example, Google Voice. Okay, at one time it could never understand what I was saying because the Indian accent is something that it could possibly not understand at that stage. But as it hears more and more, like we are a billion people, so I'm sure it's heard a lot. Now, even if I say it, not very clearly, my Google is able to pick it up. So this training of data sets works really at the level of that, and it is intermingling it with technology which enables applications to happen, which is there. But when in my field, for example, because the data is not big data, actually. I mean, except for the internet, where we are using big data to figure out salience of brands in terms of social conversations and stuff like that. And we don't need training for that. So what we do is not exactly training, but we train machine learning models, especially when it comes to predicting certain things. Okay, so it is not explanatory, but when it comes to marketing analytics and the consulting kind of work that we do, like I showed you, it's only 36 points of data, not 3 million points of data. So therefore, statistics might be more important for certain types of work, and for certain types of work, it is going to be training much larger data sets, where I think they will also require some amount of technology expertise to get in, where the engineers will have I think a heads up on that.
Thank you so much, sir. I think one last question that probably was running in my mind as you were doing your presentation is, see, the multiple touch points that we are having today for collecting data. Every organization is looking at these multiple touch points. So how much effective are they? The touch points are there. But see, there is always a data latency and maybe an information latency. So how much are we able to bring in that into the information latency and to decision?
Yeah, you're right. There are companies who have a very good system to bring the data in, and the other companies which are still doing it on Excel, and so then there's a lot of manual work involved. So, but today, thanks to all the CRM packages and various different types of ERP packages, etc., and also POS, all of these factors we have enabled people to draw the data in quickly. So, yeah, while there is some latency, we take that into consideration. For example, if I am correlating between secondary data, which is actually sales by the company to stores, and retail data, I might take a few lags into my model to account for that, depending on which data I'm working with and what my objective is. But yeah, you're right. It's one of the biggest problems that a country like India faces, or anybody in Asia faces. They don't have a good data lake, as they call it, or an integrated data mart, where your data is pulled automatically. At Rainman, we have created a data mart which is useful for marketing purposes, because actually the data in marketing, for example, is some sitting with the media agency, some sitting with the research agency, some of it is sitting with brand managers, some of it is sitting with salespeople, and some of it is in factory. So we have to bring all of these together. So what we do is we give them formats. So either they give us access to their servers through which we will pull it, or we give them formats where they will come and dump it on a server that we provide on the cloud. And from there, our automated software or manually we pull it and use it for our analysis. But yeah, you're right. It's always been an issue, and it will continue to be an issue for some time.
Thank you so much, sir. I think once again, I would like to thank you for the excellent presentation, and thanks to the 83 batch for bringing you to the platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling me. We are done. Are we
Sir,
done?
sir, yeah. So am I audible there?
Yeah.
Sir, I'm Dr. Satya Narayan, and sir, your presentation was really excellent. It is really a thought process, and the way you have taken up the information was such a beautiful one. Now, my question is very basic, sir. See, though we are talking about marketing analytics, still we admire about the classical marketing which was introduced by Philip Kotler. We still use the segmentation, targeting, and positioning. We use the integrated marketing systems like that. Now, as marketing analytics, what do you feel the future of classical marketing will be? Or in what way a person who is teaching the classical marketing should understand about the marketing metrics?
See, the thing, I am in complete agreement that you are only, this whole analytics thing has come and it's standing on the shoulders of giants who were there earlier. So all these concepts of segmentation, positioning, all of that continues to be extremely useful. It is only thing is that you are actually getting more insights from the same data that you may have had in the past as well. So when you segment today, you are no longer segmenting out of a quantitative study that you might have done. I can actually use social conversations to start segmenting my market. You understand what I'm saying? So
yes.
Supposing I'm able to scrape all the discussions on a motor car, which have happened worldwide on Volkswagen, okay, what would then I have DMPs, which is data providers which actually can track you and me today about what we are buying. I can use a combination of their conversations and the knowledge that is available for people who actually drive a Volkswagen car or similar to that, and I can do a segmentation at the level of millions, not at the level of thousands that classical marketing used to do. Okay, so therefore, I'm able to also drill down to sub-segments which they could not have earlier seen. So it is like old classical marketing now on steroids. Okay, so you are doing the same concepts of segmentation, except that you are sub-segmenting it. Somebody told me that you are eventually going to reach a segment of one, okay, where you will be changing the message at a segment of one. It's already happening. Okay, so it is how it started is they said that, oh, it is not a single customer, but it is 5-10 different segments. Okay, so segmentation is classical marketing, right? But except that it has now gone to a 3,000 segments now. In each of the segments, through a system, I can run a campaign for that one of the 3,000 segments specifically. And I can understand that guy inside out because of what he's doing on social media and what he's doing, what he's buying, because I can buy all of that data. And people are doing that in the US today. So that is the way I see it. I see it as a progression, not as this versus that. So I can almost point to anything. Like at one time, we used to do our surveys, right, on going from place to place. Now, the thing is, half the time, the people who are filling up the surveys would get tired and fill it up themselves. Okay, now instead, you can actually reach a customer who is interested in talking to you and build panels which are online panels and then get much better information. So in a sense, analytics is only adding to marketing by using all of this new data that is which is available to us. So I don't think concepts of positioning, concept of segmentation, concepts of brand building, concepts of royalty, they're not going to go anywhere. They are going to remain with us. It's how much better that we are able to use. That's going to be the issue. And how much, how targeted are you in terms of your usage? You can't say this is too broad a segment now to say, 25 to 35 and somebody who's working. That is way too broad now. You have to be able to drill it down to, what type of mentality does that have? What kind of movies is she watching? Do they watch sports channels or these channels? And then use the mobile to connect with them or some other way of connecting with them. That is going to be the change. Concepts don't change. The application and execution is going to change dramatically and continue to change dramatically.
Yes, sir. Right, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sir, excuse me. You said data, numbers, statistics, everything is scary for everybody. Initial stage, you said you were also having some inhibition while using data. But the kind of results it is giving, especially for effective decision making, understanding the customer behavior, etc., improving the return on investment or whatever, even you are using data analytics in your own company today.
No, we are a data analytics company. It's a different thing that because what happened was I went from
what it shows is the kind of decision making which is possible with the help of big data is really useful for increasing the performance as well as return on investment. So no other go, everybody has to use the big data for understanding the human customer behavior. That's what we can understand from your.
Correct. It's a mindset. I mean, you need not be scared of it.
Yes.
It's going to become easier and easier for you to consume the data. But it's only a question of where we are saying that you need to use data to make your decisions. At one time, I was also I used to do that. I used to take a decision based on eventually what I felt about something, right? So that is basically, okay, you are trained to do it in some way. So you are using your gut to inform it. Instead, I'm saying that you still have to use your gut in marketing, but it is a well-informed intuition that you have.
Yes,
so you have to get there. You have to have the ability to source that information for yourself.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. So, are we done?
Yes,
sir. Any popular data visualization tool or software that is widely used in the industry? Tableau. How far is Tableau being used or any other?
No. See, you are using Tableau. You are using various other. Like I said, that is basically having an integrated data mart at the back, and it gives you basic reports. Also, like I said, I can drill down to the level of a store, depending on how I program it. Okay, so there are a lot of what I call visualization software. Okay, which is Tableau is one of the good ones that you can use to draw very good charts, and you can pull data very easily, and you can do it. But when it comes to advanced modeling, typically it used to be SAS and SPSS, right? But now, because of R&D of various universities, the package that they use is called R, right? I don't know if you're using R in your university. So R is a very useful kind of software, apart from Python that we are starting to use now, which enables you to manipulate and build models. So there is Analytics 1, which is more the Tableau. Microsoft has some products, even Excel. All of that, I would say, analytics, basic analytics. Advanced analytics, you need to use R or Python to score your equations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wish the students also ask some questions from your end.
I think they're probably just absorbing it. It's probably too much of an overload. I'm not sure.
Sir, excuse me. I am Dr. R. Kainmuri. Sir, you explained that marketing and analytics very exhaustively. I think our students are able to understand everything. I think in future we are march towards the digital world, I think everything will be analytic only. I think big data will help definitely in all the field. So my question is, sir, whether this marketing analytic is applicable to only large scale business or small scale business. Is there anything like that, sir?
No.
Which industry
No,
will be?
It is not a question of size, it's a question of mindset.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
I'm asking, sir, where it is suitable more? Where it is suitable more, sir?
Like, for example, I have done analytics for a Idli Dosa restaurant also. Okay, because you might seem like an Idli Dosa chain, but at the end of the day, what they used to do was they used to waste a lot of idli maav at the end of the day, because they are not able to. On certain days, they would run out of it. On certain other days, because it needs to be fresh the next day, they would throw it away. So they came to me with this problem of saying, can you use our data, daily data, to build? It's a very small business, right? They have 20, 30 idli dosa places, stand up and eat kind of thing. So taking into account holidays, days of the week, the street, that particular store, we were able to bring down their wastage by at least 50%. So it's a small business can also do it. It's a question of are you looking at the data the right way or not? Every business today is computerized, from a general kirana store to a idli dosa joint to everybody. So data is available to you, but are you able to do anything with it? That's the question that is important. So there can be people who will come into small businesses and they will ask the right questions. So you can use it, yes. Large companies, of course, will use it tremendously. Some people say it cannot be used for B2B. Of course, it can be used for B2B. It can be used for B2C. It can be used on online. I can't find a single place where it is not applicable.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. It was indeed a fruitful session. And thank you for patiently answering our questions. Gratitude is when memory is stored in the heart and not in the mind. I now request our mentor and coordinator, Dr. Usha ma'am, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening to one and all present here. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God for making today's occasion a resounding success. First and foremost, I thank our special guest, Mr. Manoj Tadapalli, CEO and Director, Rainman Consulting, who despite his busy schedule has found time to grace this occasion. He did a great justice to the topic selected, that is how analytics is changing marketing, and gave updated briefing on the same. He had given a very extraordinary presentation on the latest developments in the analytics industry. I express my heartfelt thanks for enlightening us with your informative and thought-provoking speech, sir. We are grateful to Mr. Shankar Selvarajan, Director, M&M Connect Advertising and Promotions Private Limited, for identifying a wonderful speaker for the day and for helping us throughout and for ensuring the smooth conduct of this 1983-85 MBA full-time batch Silver Jubilee Ramachandran Memorial Endowment Lecture. Next, I would be failing in my duty if I don't place an appreciation on record to Mr. Prem Kumar, who was there behind the scene, right from fixing the speaker until communicating the information to his batchmates and so on. I thank him for his kindness, interest, and continued support. Our HOD strongly believes that industry institution interaction will mold our students better and put his tireless effort in bringing the industry experts to our campus. I'm extending my heartfelt gratitude to our beloved HOD Dr. Kaja Sharif, Professor and HOD DOMS in absentia. Last minute he was not able to make it up. He has been the source of inspiration and provided us with his unstinted support always. Thank you, sir. My special thanks are due to Dr. Satyanarayanan, who readily agreed to welcome the gathering in the absence of our HOD. Thank you, sir. I would also like to thank all my colleagues and Dr. B.S. Manjula ma'am, Vanita, Kanakalakshmi ma'am, Shivakumar sir, Dr. Joseph for their encouragement and participation. I would also like to mention a special thanks to our former HOD, Dr. Tenmuri ma'am, for having present over here for our grace for the occasion. We owe our special gratitude to our student volunteers, Mr. Vilamurugu, Mr. Nambirajan, and other Vox volunteers for working as a team to make this occasion a memorable one. I thank the distinguished members of the audience from the MBA full-time 83-85 batch for the gracious presence and for showing keen interest in attending the lecture every year. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. I would like to thank our office staff and technical staff who were part of this program. Last but not the least, I thank all our first and second year students for being attentive and for their active participation. Thank you, students. I, on behalf of DOMS, thank each and every participant of today's session. Once again, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Prem Kumar, sir. Thank you.
Sir, Prem Kumar, sir, how are you? Ken Murray. Prem Kumar, sir?
Yes, I am fine, madam. How are you, madam?
Fine, fine.
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
He is instrumental for bringing the speaker, ma'am.
Yeah. From your vote of thanks, I came to know that always, Prem Kumar is our only source to bring key person to the department.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure, madam.
Continuously அவர்தான் எல்லாமே பண்ணிருக்காரு மேம். ரிசோர்ஸ் பர்சன் கூட்டிட்டு வரதுல இருந்து எல்லாமே.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Manjula ma'am, for being here. Thank you,
I think
Tenmuri ma'am.
I thank our team.
It's a great team effort.
Satya sir, Manjula, Usha, Manita, Kanagalashmi, Thirukumar, Joseph, and box management team, Ilamurugu. And for the wonderful arrangement of this endowment lecture. I think now 2 more endowments are pending. I think
more,
Usha is the coordinator. I think you can take you can arrange one by one. I think in this before April or I think March. At the end of March you have to arrange everything.
Yes,
2
ma'am.
more endowment is there. I think arrange one by one. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for your guidance and support, madam. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Prem Kumar sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Okay. Sir, Prem Kumar sir.
Yes, madam.
Sir, I was joined as an emeritus professor in the department.
Oh, great. Great, madam. Really nice to hear about that.
No, Usha madam forgot to tell that. Former Solita.
Oh. Ma'am, actually நீங்க question கேட்டதுமே நான்
We are really happy to hear this news, madam. Really happy.
I am passing the information.
Oh, excellent, excellent. It's a great.
Khaja Sharif and Vice Chancellor, Registrar in charge, and the committee has selected me
Excellent.
as a professor.
We are really lucky. We are all very, very lucky to have you back. Thank you, madam.
Yeah. I think my colleagues also felt like that only.
Great, really. Thank you.
Khaja sir and Satya sir and all they felt, madam, your presence will make some difference.
Yeah, it's a great. You're a great source of inspiration and motivation to all of us.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Ilamurugu. Sir, you are in mute, sir.
Oh, thank you, madam. Thank you. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So, before closing the session, I request all the participants to rise up for the national anthem.
Yeah.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you, one and all.